Chuck Wolf back again, and I think it is time to boogie in the butt, because I think a lot of these films came from the butt because they smell of poo. But we'll get to those in a minute. Last show I discussed my top 10. I want to revisit that and discuss the Rotten Tomato rating that goes along with it. Silence, that I pushed forever, is 84%. I thought that would be higher. War Horse, 76%. I thought that would be higher. Mississippi Grind, 90%. Impressive. I, Tonya, 89%. That's about right. Elvis Nixon, 77%. I thought that would be a little higher. The Disaster Artist, 91%. It's a good movie. 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, the highest of anything here, 92%. Then Guardians of the Galaxy 2, 83%. My Friend Dahmer, 87%. And then there's always the one. Which one does not belong? Which one is not like the other? Meet Monica Valor, coming in at a whopping 48% on Rotten Tomatoes. That means half the people liked it. I'm in the half that liked it. Apparently a lot more than others. But so while I was on Rotten Tomatoes, I thought, what's the best thing that I've ever seen? The most perfectest made film? And of course, The Wrestler comes to mind. So I looked that up. 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. The highest rated film of 2008, apparently, which is amazing. Then I thought of Inside Llewyn Davis from 2013. 93%. And then I thought of what's the best documentary I've ever seen? And I thought of, it's got to be The Devil and Daniel Johnston. 89%. And then I thought, you know what? While we're at it, let's look up the worst film I've ever seen. Of course, Colossal comes to mind. So I looked up Colossal. 80%. 80. An audience rating of 59%, which is a bit more understandable, but I still... Let me read you one of these reviews. This is one of the positive reviews. It's a sci-fi horror psychodrama comedy thriller revenge romance film, and that jumble of a description not only works, it does so in spectacular fashion. Well, Peter Howell of the Toronto Star, you are a moron. I spit on you. Now this one makes a bit more sense. It has no idea what kind of movie it wants to be. It doesn't know if it wants to be a comedy, an action, a drama. It's just depressing. That's from Steph Kaza of Aggressive Comics. She looks like a rough customer, but she knows what she's talking about. That's a bit more like it. Richard Roper, oh my gosh, I haven't read this. Richard Roper says, from its weird little prologue to a nearly perfect ending, Colossal is a trip in multiple meanings of that word. And he gave it 3.5 out of 4. Richard Roper just went down 2 notches in my book. I used to respect him. But enough about Colossal. Let's get going on these god-awful movies. Oh, 577, Scream of the Banshee. It's always a red flag when the Sci-Fi Channel logo comes up before the movie Sci-Fi Original. And that's what this was. These people are looking at old artifacts and they find this hidden room covered in muck, and they find this head of the Banshee and it starts screaming. And when it does, bad things happen. And they don't know what to do with it. Lance Henderson pops up towards the end for absolutely no reason whatsoever. But yeah, you can avoid that like a boulder in the road. 578, The Caretaker. It's another Amazon bottom barrel movie I took a chance on and did not pay off here. This old lady's had a billion caretakers and they all run off or disappear. So they get her granddaughter and to come take care of her. And of course, she brings along her boyfriend, who's the biggest douchebag. And every time the boyfriend gets near the old lady, he's always trying to sneak something, trying to sneak her pills or switch out her oxygen or something that makes her upset. Then, of course, the old woman is talking to dead people, bringing over ghosts and demons and whatever, and yeah. Sounds like it could be okay, right? Yeah, the description, not so good though. $5.79. Chuck. It's not a movie about me. It's about Chuck Wepner, the boxer, who the movie Rocky was based upon. Chuck got a random kind of out of the blue shot in the 70s to fight Muhammad Ali, and it was kind of the great white hope. But knocked Ali down, which was amazing. But the part that covered the Wepner's fight with Ali was probably the best part of the movie. Then it kind of went downhill a little bit after that. He kind of got mixed up in drugs. So if you start mixed up in drugs, you might as well start delivering drugs and selling drugs. Why not, right? I did not know that Chuck Wepner was supposed to be in Rocky 2, but he was so high as a kite that he couldn't land the role, so they told him to take a hike. But this movie went really fast. It felt like it was 45 minutes, but it was a full hour and a half. So I guess that makes it pretty good. And it's one of the better things. Ron Perlman, he showed up as the trainer. It's one of the better things he's done in a while. But $5.80, Hell or High Water. This was a good movie, really good movie. Chris Pine, Jeff Bridges, Chris Pine and his brother, who's popped up in a million movies, but I can't remember his, Ben Foster. Chris Pine and Ben Foster are brothers. It tells you how well I prepare for this. They're brothers and they're robbing banks, but they're robbing small banks and only robbing small amounts. So they rob like 2 a day, 3 a day, then they'll disappear for a week or two and get a different car and go steal a couple more banks. And Jeff Bridges is the sheriff of the area and he's trying to bring him down, but he's a month away from retirement, which is a common theme when dealing with old sheriffs. They're always, I'm about to retire. I don't know if I can do one more. And the Ben Foster character kind of goes a little overboard and always wants to do more. And Chris Pine's like, we're lucky that we got this far. Let's stop now. And that's another issue. But yeah, a good movie though. Highly recommend this movie. Not so much. $5.81, Personal Shopper, Kristen Stewart from Twilight. She is a medium, and she's over in Europe. She landed a job as a personal shopper for this rich lady. Kristen Stewart picks up these women's fancy clothes that she pays thousands of dollars for, but she's a medium, and she was in this house, and she thought she felt the presence of her dead brother and her dead twin brother. So she wants to go and investigate it, and it's, of course, not the brother. It's another evil spirit. And these movies. I don't know if it's just the horror genre I'm just getting tired of, because I've seen everything 1,000 times. I've seen every, plot line. But, this next one was horror, and it wasn't horrible. $5.82, The Funhouse Massacre, probably because it was so over the top. This guy is opening up this funhouse and he wants to kill people, so maybe it was a girl no, I don't remember, but they helped this all these inmates at this mental asylum get out so they can go to the funhouse and all do their killings. There's a dentist that drills holes through people's heads. Then there's this chef that cooks people. They all have their little thing, and of course they let all the people in and then cage it off so they can't get out and start killing them off. And Yep, everyone's fighting for their lives. But it was interesting. 583. Don't Sleep. Another lousy, low budget horror film. You can make low budget horror films be decent. Rideshare, Big Legends I watched recently, both good. You know, the first Annabelle movie only had a budget of like $2 million. I think Insidious had less than that, and those movies were excellent. But God. This young couple moves into this house. It's owned by the neighbor, and there's somehow, through whatever, this evil spirit is creeping around the neighborhood, and the spirit beats you up and then kind of possesses you, so you do its bidding. Why it has to beat you up beforehand, but that's what it does. First it beat up the old man in the neighborhood, and then it beat up the neighbors, and what a mess. 584 Whisper. This was not horrible. Weird cast though. Sawyer from Lost, Rick's wife from Walking Dead, whatever her name is, Joel Edgerton, and the blue dude from Guardians of the Galaxy. These four champions kidnap this kid for ransom, and they're hiding out at this little cabin, and apparently this kid is some conjurer of demons, or he is a demon. I don't know which one or the other, but he was kind of able to control the people and make them do things they didn't want to do to each other, and yeah, it was creepy. There's an alternate ending on the DVD, and I randomly decided to usually I don't care, but for this one I did. The alternate ending was 10 times better than the original ending, but whatever. Still watchable. 585 Pacific Rim Uprising. I thought I was watching Spy Kids 3D. They took a respectable science fiction series and made it into a kiddie movie. There's so many 12-year-olds walking around in this. What? Killed it. They killed it. I now can't watch the sequel. It's going to be run by 5-year-olds. It's going to get worse. Don't know what else to say about it. 586 Milo. All the way, this movie came from the Netherlands. It is about this boy who has to put on the skin cream all over his entire body every day. And you're thinking, why does he have to do that every day? Well, if he doesn't, he grows hair everywhere. I can't remember the name of the condition. It's like 50 letters long, but I'm sure you've seen them on shows where they look like little Sasquatches, they're covered in hair. But that's his condition, and he's trying to control it. But he was not allowed to go to camp, so he runs away from home, and he moves in with these poor people that lived in a trailer in the middle of nowhere, and of course he doesn't have his cream, so he's getting hairy. So he wears a ski mask most of the times, but yeah, interesting film. 587 Zookeeper, Kevin James. This movie got 14% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's about right. I don't know if it was that bad. It has its moments. The animals in the zoo are kind of okay. Yeah, Kevin James is trying to how to describe this film. He's trying to get back with his ex, and the animals start talking to him and start trying to help him. Then he quits being a zookeeper and joins his brother at the car dealership, and of course that doesn't last long. It's predictable, but it's fine. Where are we? 588 Office Christmas Party. This was Jason Bateman. This was okay. This company is having a Christmas party, even though Jennifer Aniston, who runs the company, told them not to do it, so they can impress this buyer, so they can keep the company afloat, basically. And things get out of hand when illicit drugs start being put in the snow machine. But yeah, it's fine. It has its moments. It's 2 to 3 ha ha ha. A couple chuckles on top of that. $5.89, 7 days in Entebbe. It's a recent film. This Israeli plane is hijacked by these German terrorists / freedom fighters, and they're trying to negotiate some prisoners of theirs they want released from Israel. So they take this plane full of people and take them to Uganda, and they put them in this awful crumbling motel. It's hot and they're uncomfortable, but they have to wait till this works itself out, and that's basically what this is about. This is a waiting game, but it wasn't horrible. $5.90 unlocked. I wish this movie was locked in a safe forever. Orlando Bloom, Michael Douglas, John Malkovich, and some chick. The chick was the main character. She was a agent for something or other, and she had to fight terrorists. And she's getting the help from all these people I just listed. And you can't tell who's good and who's bad, because half of them turn on her. They're like double agents or whatever. It gets a little overkill. That's what it is. But the ending was fine. It was good action, I guess. Can't really recommend it though. $5.91, The Graves. This was an abomination. Group of friends go in the middle of nowhere. This is the After Dark horror series. Usually they're reliable. Usually they make respectable, watchable horror films, like Fertile Ground and a billion others, and Husk. This, not so good. These friends go in the middle of nowhere, and town's run by these crazy religious people, and Tony Todd, who's Candyman, the Candyman series. He's the crazy priest, and he sacrifices people, and yeah. $5.92, Don't Knock Twice. This wasn't horrible. This old lady did a bunch of bad things, and she died in this little house, which I swear from front door to back door is about 6 feet, but it's like really tall. It's a weird looking house. But anyway, the urban legend is if you knock once, you'll wake her up, and if you knock twice, you'll wake her up from the dead, and she'll haunt you. So this young couple decided to do it, this boyfriend girlfriend, and they both knocked twice, and within like 5 minutes the boyfriend's dead. But somehow it takes the whole rest of the movie for the ghost to get to the girl. Why is it so easy to kill some and not others? And the guy was like, looks like he could take care of himself, but no, dies immediately. But the little tiny girl fights forever. But other than that, it's fine. It has some good jumps. $5.93, Deathline. This is from the 70s. It stars Donald Pleasance from the Halloween series. Christopher Lee popped up. It's a not so great horror film about these inbred people, well, it's two people living in the subway system. And if people stay down there and get stuck down there when it's closing or whatever, get lost, and this thing finds you and eats you, and takes your stuff and does whatever to you. Apparently he took a woman and got her pregnant, but she died. But yeah, it's twisted. Now the scenes with Donald Pleasance are almost comical. I think he's trying to be funny, but this is a rated R horror. You're chasing some creature, some freak in the subway, but he's bouncing around like Inspector Clouseau. Like, what is this? So yeah, you can dodge that one. And dodge this one. $5.94, the Millennium Bug. I looked this up on Rotten Tomatoes, and there is nothing on this. Nothing. There's some documentary about the Millennium Bug, but this movie does not show up. That's how obscure and random this is. It's a fairly recent film, but it's set in 1999 during the Y2K scare, so this family of three goes up to their log cabin to get away from things, so in case things do get bad during the Y2K, then they'll be in the middle of nowhere and don't care. And there's this inbred family, again, out there causing trouble, kidnapping people and forcing them to have babies, because all the babies they have are inbred and don't survive, so what do? You got to kidnap people to have, proper babies. And then there's this bug, this big looking locust thing that just appears, crawls out of the ground, I guess, and starts attacking people. This film, God. This is on the list of one of the worst things I've seen. $5.95, Logan Lucky. This was a good film. Channing Tatum, Adam Driver, Daniel Craig. Channing Tatum gets this group of people to try to rip off the Charlotte Speedway that runs NASCAR races. And they were going to rob it when it was during the slow season, but because of scheduling problems, they have to steal it during the big NASCAR race when there's, hundreds of thousands of people there. So I guess they have this system where it just kind of floods all the money from the concessions all right to this one spot, and so they want to rob that one spot and take all the cash. And, yep, interesting little thriller caper. Yep, good little movie. And they're all rednecks, all redneck hillbilly, Jimbo, Billy Bob, Danny Frank people. Yep. $5.96. The Bipolar Rock and Roller. I read that correctly. The Bipolar Rock and Roller. This was a documentary, a Showtime documentary, about Mauro Ranallo, who you probably have heard. He did play-by-play for the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight and the Mayweather-McGregor fight, and he's done a bunch of MMA, and he currently works for the WWE as a play-by-play guy. And I remember one day he just didn't show up for his scheduled WWE show. Then he wasn't there next week, and he wasn't there the week after. Like, where's Mauro? Well, apparently he had a bad bout with bipolar disorder, and when he has bad bouts, he has to be hospitalized and medicated, or else he will try to kill himself. So that's where he was, and yeah, it goes into it and how debilitating it can be, and how it was really hard to find proper medication to treat him, because usually it got worse when he was on medication. So yeah, it was enlightening. I was completely... You think you see people on television, you think they're one way, you think they're normal, fine human beings because they perform at a high level, but then you see what's going on behind the curtain, and it's like, wow, this guy had some problems. But it was interesting, fascinating little film. Highly recommend that one. $5.97. The Reeker. When this group of friends go out to get lost, or their car breaks down, one or the other, I don't remember. And they're in the middle of nowhere in this hotel, and then there's this thing out there. When you smell a bad smell, that means the Reeker is nearby and it's gonna kill you, or it's gonna make sometimes it puts things inside you and then turns them on, and that's what kills you. So these friends are trying to fight this thing, and it's not really... It's like a ghost. They shoot at it, and it doesn't really do any good, but... And then the ending, it's like, oh, that's what really happened, and it makes you feel stupid. Then you're just upset. Not that it was that great to begin with, but yeah, you can skip this one. $5.98, The Endless. Interesting idea. Not so great on the execution. These two brothers were in a UFO cult, and they escaped, and the UFO cult still existed years and years later because they figured they were going to all kill themselves. So they decide, we kind of ran away without saying goodbye. Well, let's go back and say goodbye. And then leave. I know, right? Stupid. You got out while you could. You should stay out. Nope, they go back and they get roped back in and things start going crazy, and then you understand why it's called a UFO cult. But, yep, you can dodge that one too. $5.99, the new Flatliners movie. It's, if you haven't seen the original, I guess if you're not over the age of 30, you probably haven't. But it's basically these medical students flatline themselves on purpose so they can see the afterlife, and they do it for longer periods of time. Like, I want to be under for 2 minutes. I want to be under for 3 minutes. I want to be dead for 4 minutes. And the longer you're dead, the more things you see. But when you come back out of it, there's that gap of the dead world starts encroaching in on you because you were dead too long, and it kind of makes for creepy horror films. And that's what happens again in this one. It's just a basic remake. The guy that played the James Spader character in this new one looks exactly like him. I wonder if they're related. I should check on that, because damn, it's the same dude. Kiefer Sutherland from the original pops up as a doctor in this, doctor, teacher, trainer, whatever. It was good to see him. Gosh, he's looking old. Ellen Page was in this. Diego Luna never ages. If you're looking for a good Spanish language movie, he was in a movie from the early 2000s called Y Tu Mama Tambien. These two friends that go on a road trip, and they meet a woman, and they both fall in love with her, and they don't know what to do, so yeah, it's interesting. But let's finish this list. Gosh, 600, The Curse. This was a 80s Will Wheaton movie. Will Wheaton just coming off his success on Stand By Me. It was directed by David Keith, who's an actor. If you looked him up, you'd probably recognize him. He's been in a billion things. Why he was chosen to direct this, I don't know, because it's awful. Awful, awful film. Apparently he has a cult following, which blows my mind. But, anyway, Will Wheaton in he's like 15 in this. He's got his mom and dad and his sister. This little sister was played by his actual real life sister, and you could tell they look exactly the same. But this thing crashes, this ball crashes in their yard, and then it dissolves and goes in the water, and if you drink the water, then you end up getting, it's like a cabin fever of the 80s. Don't drink the water, or else bad things happen. That's what this is. It was followed by sequels, but because the sequels were unintentional, and by that I mean they weren't purposely called The Curse 2. They were taking advantage of the cult following of the original Curse. So they just decided, let's change the title to Curse 2. So it looks like we're making a sequel to this, even though it's nothing to do with the original. But yeah, there's a Curse 2 and a Curse 3 apparently. So one of the reviews I read for the Curse says Curse 2 is underrated and far superior. So maybe I'll watch Curse 2. Other than that, that is it. That's all we got. That's 600 in the bank. And I don't know what's coming, as usual. Whatever is next on the list. So I'll talk to you later.